Hey there friend, Zach here. And I gotta say, I kind of enjoy my channel being a bit random at times.
Okay, sure, my channel is about going over and reviewing different video games, and I know you haven't seen anything like that before. But the types of video games I choose to go over are actually pretty randomized. I mainly go over games that I have personally really enjoyed. I don't want to go over any bad video games to say, as there is someone who already does that pretty well. I just ask myself, what games have I played recently that I found myself going back to, rather than just playing it once and never picking it up again, with the hopes that you might enjoy this game as much as I have. So on the topic of random, let's talk about Risk of Rain 2. If you remember last week's video, I mentioned that this week would be a bit of a curveball compared to what we have been going over. This isn't just another Mario game, that's for sure. Risk of Rain 2 is a third-person shooter roguelike game. Roguelike games have random elements to them, but they can vary depending on the type of game you are playing. The premise of the game is actually quite simple. You enter the first level through a drop pod, and your main goal is to find a giant teleporter somewhere in the level. Activating the teleporter will summon a boss for you to beat. All you need to do is defeat the boss, wait for the teleporter to charge up to 100%, and activate it to be teleported to the next level. Then, all you have to do is rinse and repeat that process over and over again until you die. And that's it really. It's not that simple though. See, scattered around the levels are tons of items that you can get, but all of them cost money. Everything has a price, of course. In order to get said money, there will be enemies that randomly spawn throughout the world for you to kill. Save up your money and voila, you got yourself an item. There are different rarities of items as well. The more rare an item is, the better effect it will have on your character. The rarity goes common, uncommon, and rare. These items can be found in the different chests around the level you are in. However, it is completely random and unknown as to what item you will be getting. Now, there are some different kinds of chests you can find where they will give you a certain kind of item. For example, there's this green chest that has a cross on it, indicating that you will receive some type of healing item. You also have these item stations where you can choose an item out of 3. It's pretty nice knowing what kind of item you are going to get every now and then, and I find myself using these stations quite often if I'm trying to stack up on certain items. Boss related items can spawn when you defeat the level boss after activating the teleporter. Now, they aren't a guaranteed drop, but if you are playing in the multiplayer mode with at least one other person, if a boss item drops, it can take the place of one of the uncommon items that drop as well. Oh yeah, I should also mention, when you defeat a boss, uncommon quality items will drop. The amount of items that drop depend on the amount of people you have in a game. There are opportunities to have the amount of items drop doubled after defeating a boss, but I'll get to that a little later on. Lastly, there are lunar items. These are actually rather interesting. Lunar items give you an awesome effect, but at a cost. These are the only types of items in the game where, while they give you an awesome effect to work with in your run, those effects can come with a downside. For example, there's a lunar item in the game known as the Brittle Crown. By equipping it, you will gain gold upon hitting enemies. This sounds great, sure, especially considering you only get your gold after you defeat the enemies, but you also lose gold when you get hit. When it comes to these lunar items, I like to make sure I know what I am getting before I pick it up. You can find these lunar items in the lunar pods scattered around the map. They are relatively difficult to come across, but they cost 1 lunar coin each. Lunar coins are another form of currency that are randomly dropped by enemies. The cool thing is that your lunar coins transfer between runs. So let's say you end up with 4 lunar coins after a run. When you start your next one, you will still have those 4 lunar coins with you. It's not just lunar pods. You will eventually gain access to Newt's shop where you can spend your lunar coins. When you walk in, there's a lunar item station on the left where you can choose from 4 lunar items, each worth 2 lunar coins each. And on the right, you have 2 stations where you can sacrifice a certain number of items for either an uncommon item or a rare item. And if you go towards Newt as well, you have the opportunity to free a character to play as for future runs, but I'll get to that later on as well. There's also different equipment you can find. These don't really have a rarity, so to say, mainly because they have a dedicated type of chest you can find, and honestly, they aren't that difficult to find either. Equipment items are items you can trigger with the press of a button, and they also have a recharge to them. But enough about the items, let's talk about the characters themselves. When you first start the game, you'll see that you only have one character unlocked, the Commando. The Commando is the most basic character to understand in the game, which also makes sense why it's the character everyone starts with. Your primary weapons are dual guns, and your abilities include a roll, piercing shot, and a rapid fire that can help stun your enemies. Multi is a robot with a cute little construction cap. You can unlock him by beating the first level 5 times. He is the only character with technically 2 primary weapons, as you can switch between a fast-shooting nail gun and a sniper rifle that you can use to damage enemies from a great distance away. His abilities include a speed boost that is great from getting out of sticky situations, a grenade cluster, and that's kind of it, because your third ability is the swap itself between primary weapons. Next up is the Huntress, which you can unlock by beating the first 3 levels without dying. I gotta admit, I'm not a huge fan of the Huntress's gameplay style, but of course, nothing is for everyone. Your primary weapon includes a bow and arrow. The attack speed is actually pretty slow to start off with, but your abilities make up for it. Plus, you don't really have to aim with your primary fire. Your abilities include this cool ricocheting weapon that can bounce off multiple enemies. You also have the ability to teleport, and you can summon an arrow storm down onto enemies. Next up, you have the Engineer. You unlock him by beating 30 levels total. This was actually my favorite character for a while until I unlocked another one later on. Your primary weapon are multiple bounce grenades that are launched out of these launchers on your shoulders. Your abilities include proximity mines, a bubble shield, and 2 turrets. Then there's the Artificer. I think I said that right. You unlock her by freeing her from Newt's shop with 10 Looter coins. Think of her as a mage, where you can deal different forms of elemental damage. Your main attack includes 4 fireballs you can launch. Abilities include firing a giant ball of electricity, an ice wall, and a flamethrower. Now we get to my favorite character to play, the Cyber Ninja himself, the Mercenary. You can unlock him by activating the Obelisk, which is accessed from a portal after you beat the 7th level on your run. You will have to obliterate yourself, quote unquote, meaning your run comes to an end, but you will end up unlocking the Mercenary himself. Unlike the other characters in the game, your primary weapon is a sword, as you focus on close combat. Your abilities include a sword spin, dash, and a sword flurry where you turn invisible when you attack everything close to you. There's also Rex, who was just added recently into the game. Again, not my type of character. Your primary attack includes 3 syringes, ability includes a seed barrage, which acts as a mortar strike, a knockback, and a tangle that holds every enemy down within the circle of the plant that was fired. Each character has a different playstyle that suits different players as well. As mentioned, I personally am a huge fan of the Mercenary, so he is easily my go-to. Going back to the levels themselves, there are some more things you can find. There are multiple shrines scattered around the map. Chance shrines allow you to gamble the money you earn to see if you can win an item out of them. Blood shrines allow you to damage yourself for gold. Combat shrines summon enemies for you to fight, which is a great way to earn some extra gold. Mountain shrines will make the boss fight for the level that you are on way harder, but they double your rewards as well. Wood shrines, which will summon an aura of healing around the shrine itself. You can stack this up to 3 times, making the aura larger. And an extremely rare shrine of gold, which will summon a portal to the Gilded Coast after you defeat the level boss. You might every now and then find a log for certain items, enemies, or bosses as well, which you can view from the main menu, giving you a summary of each. Lastly, talking about the menu itself, despite all of the options you have, there isn't really too much to it. This game is still in early access, so there isn't really too much to see with these different options at the moment. But the good news is that, well, it's in early access. One of the great things about this game is that it came out this year, and there are 4 more content updates planned for the future, one of them for this month even. Now is a great time to get into the game. To end off, I want to point one more thing out. You can play by yourself or with others online, but I highly recommend playing with others online though, as this game is actually rather boring to play by yourself. I swear, after just the first level, I get super bored at this game and just kind of want to disconnect as it is.
And that's Risk of Rain 2. You know, one of the really cool things about this game is that it's actually out on the Nintendo Switch right now, so you can enjoy being random on the go. Broccoli is a wonderful vegetable.
Hey, thank you so much for watching today. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to have a video out next week just because I have to work with a group on a project that requires us to be away from the house for the majority of the time. So we should be up and running though the week after, so definitely be sure and stay tuned for that. Other than that, thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope to see you next time. Take care.